Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Day 2 of the apprentice program. Take 2. Sister Kate's about to go meet the apprenti out by the chicken coop and teach them about chickens and goats and animals, and not only how to feed them, but how to care for them, what uses they are, those types of things. I'm going to take care of a little bit of housekeeping here at our house, get some wood and kindling, stuff like that. But I wanted to talk to y'all real quick this morning about Kurdistan, the concept, in some people's minds, the reality. You know, after World War I, the Western powers drew lines on the map in the Middle East and created countries like Iraq and stuff like that, Syria. And the Kurds were kind of screwed out of their homeland. And there's a bunch of Kurds. I mean, I'm not an intellectual, but there's millions and millions and millions of Kurds. And they've been having since World War I difficulties. And the U.S. continues to screw them over. And of all the people in that region, they are the coolest people. They are the people I would think we would just help support and let's get some things going on. They claim, and they are the majority population in a big part of northern Iraq, a little part of eastern Syria, a little slice of western Iran, and about a third of Turkey. There's the problem. At one time, and maybe still, Turkey had the largest army in NATO, in raw numbers. And, you know, quantity has a quality all its own, right? But if you've been following Erdogan, the president, premier, whatever, the head dude of Turkey, if you've been following him at all, he's not a good actor, right? We should have never let Turkey into NATO in the first place, in my opinion. Turkey's a problem. He's been becoming very Islamic. He's been becoming pretty anti-West, especially for a NATO member. We have air bases there. It's rumored, and it's probably true, that we have nukes there on the air bases. And so I would say that's probably dangerous for us, right? If he has this huge army and we have air bases and nukes there, I'm sure we have a plan to get them out of there. Fly them out, you know, like on 5 hours notice or something. But it's a problem. And from Turkey's perspective, they don't want to give up a third of their country. I mean, would we want to give up everything east of the Mississippi to some, you know, ethnic group? No, we wouldn't. So you can understand it from Turkey's perspective. But from a reality perspective, from a world perspective, you know, how things are, not how we'd like them to be. Turkey's not our friend, even though they are in NATO. The Kurds would love to be our friend. I have friends, special forces guys, who worked with Peshmerga in the latest Iraq war, and they love those guys. They are awesome. They're pretty good fighters. They're not radical Islamists. They're mostly Muslim. But if there could be such a thing, they're good Muslims, right? They're cool people. My friends had nothing but the highest regard to say for them. I had an opportunity one time to go work a contract in, it said Kurdistan. And I'm like, where? And they said like Kirkuk or Turkey. Wherever, Tikrit, there you go. And they were going to pay really good money. And I said, yeah, I'll go, because that's all Peshmerga country. It ended up falling through, and it didn't work. But those are good people, and they put some stability in Iraq. You know, I just read a newspaper article recently that said the Kurds are, how did they phrase that? Because they said Iraq is a nation in name only, and the Kurds are a nation in reality, something like that. Because they are. They put control on northern Iraq, and they kept things calm. And then ISIS comes in, and so once again, we go in and support the Kurds and to help fight ISIS, because they were the only force there that could do it. I mean, the Iraqi army is worthless, right? And so we supported them, and then now they're in Syria because they want to own part of Syria. And now Turkey is invading Syria to fight the Kurds. I can understand it from Turkey's perspective. You guys want to take over a third of my country. Syria is basically a lawless zone right now. We're not going to let you build up bases there and to support your brothers, just across the border in Turkey. So we're going to come schwack you. The problem is, evidently, the Turks are advancing with armor, tanks and stuff, and airplanes. They're making an assault towards a place where there are U.S. Special Operations Forces embedded with the Kurds who are fighting ISIS in Syria. What are we going to do? Are we going to pull our guys out and let the Kurds be schwacked by the Turks? Bye-bye, guys. It's been nice. Thanks for helping us, but we ain't helping you. Maybe. Are we going to let our Special Forces guys be pawns to be killed by the Turkish armor so that we can escalate to do something else? That would be a bad move on my part, on my thinking. We're not really sending any strong signals out, and yet this juggernaut is advancing. Personally, I think we ought to tell Turkey, your help is not wanted here in Syria. Get thee back across your border, and if you hit any of my soldiers working with the Kurds, you and I have a big problem. And if I saw them keep coming, I wouldn't wait till they actually hit our troops embedded with the Kurds. I'd stop them. You won't listen to my words. You'll listen to my, might, my military might. Putin is brilliant. He stands to do nothing but win, right? Obviously, he's supporting the Assad regime to a degree. He wants access to the bases and stuff. But Putin doesn't like NATO. What is NATO's purpose after the wall fell down, came down? Because NATO was built to stand up against the Soviet Union, to unite Western Europe against the Soviet Union. And now we're positioning all this stuff on what we call the eastern border of NATO countries and stuff. We're threatening Russia. Why are we doing that? So Russia's like, well, let's try and work against NATO asymmetrically. And so if he can get Turkey to mix it up with the U.S., that's a huge problem for NATO, right? Where's the rest of Europe going to go on that? Because an attack on one is an attack on all. How are they going to solve that? I think Putin's playing a waiting game in Syria just to see what happens. I think we ought to help establish Kurdistan where they want it. A third of Turkey, a slice of Syria, a slice of Iran, and a chunk of Iraq. I think we should help them do it. I think we should recognize Kurdistan. Woohoo! That's my view. Y'all do some research on that. Look up, and I think some time ago, maybe under the Clinton administration, maybe before that under Bush, we designated the PKK, which I think was the Kurdistan Workers' Party, if I have that right, as a terrorist organization. I don't think they've ever committed a terror act against the United States. So, color me pro-Kurd. Color me anti-Turk, anti-Iraq, anti-Iran, anti-Syria. Let's establish a free Kurdistan. All right. Your comments. I'll see you out there.